Good evening and welcome back to the channel. This is your Norwich City versus Manchester United match reaction in the FA Cup. Surprise, surprise, we didn't lose to them. So all you Arsenal fans can delete your drafted tweets now that you planned maliciously to send after the game, because you're a sorry club who ultimately is only proud. Your proudest achievement in the last few years is finishing higher than Spurs and us and beating us 2-0 in Christmas before we had Bruno. So sit down, you bloody Arsenal fans. But to the rest of the football fans that actually have dignity and have high aspirations for their clubs, we beat Norwich 2-1 today. It wasn't the most glamorous game. Captain's performance by Harry Maguire by many accounts, and if you have any criticism of him, don't forget this guy plays practically every game, every minute of every game, even when he's injured. So I wasn't surprised that he was a bit sluggish today. So yeah, that is what we'll be talking about. You know, obviously you'll get the player ratings later on in the show, some of our opinions and thoughts of the game, and whether or not this game is really a wake-up call or just whether or not circumstances didn't play into our favor. If you're up for that, whether it be in the comments down below or just by listening, please don't forget to leave a like on the video. And if you are new, do consider subscribing. Let's get right into it. What is your guys' thoughts on the game today and the result?
I'm angry. I won't lie to you. I'm angry. I'm low-key fuming. I'm happy with the win, don't get me wrong, but we should never be in that situation. There's no rest now, and now, you know, we have a game coming up on Tuesday, and you know what? I'm really fuming. I'm really fuming. That game should have been put to bed.
Did you really expect anything else when you saw the team sheet, though? Genuinely?
No.
Because I didn't. I'll tell you why. Look, if you're one of those people that says Manchester United is 3 signings away from challenging from a title, first of all, you need to get your eyes checked and make sure you're not watching reruns of Sir Alex's teams playing and you're actually watching what's been happening in the last 7 years. Second of all, I'd advise you get a brain transplant and make sure the people on the waiting list for the brain transplant have actually watched Manchester United in the last 7 years. And then thirdly, I would advise, you actually pick up like I don't even know, not even a book, just watch some football, because Manchester United is not ready to win a title. God forbid rebuilding the dynasty we once had. We're not ready to win a title. Liverpool fans, if you guys want to rebuild your dynasty and you think United is a threat, here's a tip. Whenever Pogba and Rashford are in a hotel near you, getting ready to play you, just make sure one of the people who's doing their room service sneezes on their food. Rashford will have a stomachache in the game, and Pogba will have the flu. And you won't have to worry about anything, because without those two players, we're nothing. And you could use it the other way around. Without Martial and Bruno, Pogba and Rashford are nothing anyways as well. You know, it's embarrassing that we can't beat the worst side in the league, even with our third team. You know, it's actually more embarrassing conversely for them, because I said this against Bruges as well. It's embarrassing that Bruges couldn't beat our third team. It's embarrassing that Norwich can't beat our third team, but they're the worst team in the league. You know, and I don't want to talk about Norwich because ultimately a team that's 20th shouldn't be winning the oldest trophy in football anyways. We should be beating this team. I do think it's genuinely embarrassing. I've got nothing else to say with regards to that.
Okay, firstly, Arsenal fans are talking. Shut up, because they're going to lose tomorrow to Sheffield. Just putting it out there. But it was
lost to bloody Brighton as well. Arsenal fans have no class. Yeah, sorry.
It was a game of 3 halves, and I'm not just referring to the minutes of the game, just how we played the game. To start off, I don't think we were horrible at the start. I think the tempo was decent, and I think the movement of the ball was decent, but I feel like we didn't have much options.
That's the final third.
Yeah, we didn't have much options, and I feel like we were very narrow up front, and Mata was basically a midfielder. He was coming to the midfield a lot. Lingard was losing the ball left, right, and centre, so we just had nothing in terms of goal scoring. And then, yeah, Bruno wasn't really on it. He was just here and there. And then second half was the same. We didn't really improve much, but Norwich just shit, so we scored anyway. And after we scored, we just seemed to think we've won the game. So yeah, we were flat. And then they came back from a moment of brilliance from Cantwell. And then after that, the big hitters came in, and we really dominated. Like, I can't ask more. One can say maybe we should have moved the ball quicker, but like, I think we're moving at a decent tempo, and we were all over them. But Norwich just threw everyone behind the ball, and like, it was just the dynamics of football, and it just didn't work completely in our favor. And yes, you can say tactics and picking of players to start with. Maybe that can be that as well. But
No.
I'm just happy for one, to be honest.
No. Look, if you're going to use this as an opportunity to go in on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and his tactics, no.
I mean,
I respect your opinion, but piss off.
I don't think Jesse Lingard should have started. I think Dan James was the best player for this game. Was he even on the bench?
No, okay. Fair enough. Dan James should have started. Fair enough. Greenwood could have played. Fair enough. Rashford could have come on earlier. Fair enough. Pogba could have started and we could have won this game 6-0 and we could have taken Pogba off and actually arrested him. Fair enough. There are some things that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer could have done differently in this game, but I'm not having the attack on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for this game specifically, and I'll tell you why. Jesse Lingard gets paid more money than Bruno Fernandes and cannot trap a ball to save his life. This is a World Cup semi-finalist. I'm not hearing the Dan James argument because ultimately, Dan James is a crap player who all he has to offer is speed. What else would he have given us in that game besides speed? What else would Dan James have given us besides speed?
Here's the thing. Dan James is not amazing, but he's a like for like for what we play. And he would have given us that width. And with Mata and Lingard, we just didn't have that. It just didn't
I understand that. But for me, that's not a reason to go in on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. For me, that's a simple reason to go in on the fact that this club is filled with dead wood on 200k per week. I'm not having the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer debate tonight because ultimately this is a reflection of where we are as a club, not a reflection of our tactics and our management.
True. But like we've talked about that. Like I'm just sick of talking about it. We know we have crap players who can't do it. So I feel like Dan James should have been picked today.
Well, some people disagree. Some people think we have an amazing squad that's 2 or 3 signings away from winning a title. Some people are actually that delusional that they think Dan James is ready. Some people are that delusional, you know. Some United fans actually think we're ready to challenge for a title next season if we just get Grealish and Sancho. And I'm ultimately talking to those people, and I'm talking to the people who go in on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. If you're going to go in on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for us nearly losing this game, then are you going in on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for everything else that's happened at this club, even when we didn't have any better options but Lingard and Pereira? Like what? What was he supposed to do in the Christmas when we drew to Sheffield 3-3? What was he supposed to do against Newcastle when these players bottled it? What was he supposed to do when these players bottled it against Burnley at Old Trafford 2-0? What was he supposed to do in all the circumstances where these men who get paid more than 90% of the league ultimately just betrayed not only his trust, but 3 of the managers before him's trust, some of them? You know, I'm not having that argument. I know Jesse Lingard's not a left winger. I know Matt is not a right winger. But ultimately, against the worst team in the league, playing out of position is not the most difficult thing as a professional footballer who has more free time on his hands than most of us who don't even play the sport. You know, I'm not having that argument. It's an embarrassment. Blaming Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for what happened today is a scapegoat. I blame the 11 men who were on the field, except maybe Shaw and Maguire, because they actually had a decent game. Even Bruno shooting from 30 yards out when we're playing against a 10-man team. It's basic common sense. When you're playing against a 10-man team, you rotate the ball and use the extra man as an advantage. You don't cut in and shoot from 30 yards. That's something that I expect Rashford to do, not Bruno, not the supposed player of the season who's only been here for 5 minutes. But I'm not having the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer argument. I can give you 60 million reasons why it's not Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's fault that we nearly lost today. And none of them have to do with tactics. All of them have to do with the fact that these players are not ready to play for the shirt. Yeah, I mean, Igalo, people will love Igalo because he's a fan favorite and he scored a goal. But what did Igalo do this whole game? What does Igalo have that Martial doesn't?
I thought Igalo
I think to say Igalo played well against a team that's 20th in the Premier League, that's his job. He's supposed to play well against a team that's 20th in the league. Duh, but what did he do that was so amazing today that pushes him away?
He won't make goals. He is the poacher type of striker, and he did his job, and hold up wasn't fantastic.
That's my point. Exactly, genius. You know what Lingard's good at? He's good at running around and pressing teams. Is that good enough for Manchester United? Is it good enough to have a striker who only knows how to poach and can't run after the first 60 minutes of the game? Is it good enough to have a player who's on 200k and can't even play a full 90 minutes without huffing and puffing? Is that good enough for you? Because if that's good enough for you,
if you're referring to Igalo, I don't mind him because for me, since he's gotten here, his goal scoring record has been great.
Okay, well, since everybody, I'd like to offer everybody, I would like to offer you an apology and everybody on the show. I will be building a time machine, and I'll donate the time machine to you so that you can go back and watch Wenger make top 4 every season. Since you're so happy with Igalo, you know, I don't know. Maybe I'm just too heated after this performance. You know, maybe I'm in the wrong. Maybe I'm being too emotional. So I'll just shut up and we can get to the play ratings. Since Igalo is so good.
It's not all his fault. It's more the players. I agree 100%. I'm just sick and tired of talking about it. And all I'm saying, tactically, I think he could have picked better players more suited for this game. That's all I'm saying.
Could have, would have, should have. But ultimately, Pogba played against Watford and we still lost. So better players, my arse. Match player ratings. What are we giving Romero, who conceded a goal that he should be saving against the worst team in the league, mind you? But if it was De Gea who made this mistake, we'd be going on him talking about how Henderson should be coming back on loan from Sheffield. But, you know, Romero out of 10.
Romero, he didn't have anything to do, but when he had something to do, he didn't do it. So, yeah, 5 out of 10.
Yeah, you're right. Didn't have much to do. And I think as much as he should have maybe gotten a fingertip to it, it was a good save from Top Cantwell. So I'm going to give him a 6. I mean, a good shot and a good save. So 6.
Yeah, I was nearly confused there. Delo out of 10.
Oh my God, Cantwell had him on toast. Going forward, he was non-existent. I'm giving Delo a 3.
That's not his fault. Are you telling me he should have played Wan-Bissaka against the worst team in the league? What? Are you nuts? So are you telling me he should have played 5 first-teamers today to secure a result against a 20th team? We should be playing our 3rd team against this. And Delo, I honestly have question marks after Delo, not just after this game. I've had question marks about Delo for a long time, but I've been keeping quiet and waiting for him to actually get a good run of games. And if he can't do it against the 20th team, when can you trust this guy? When can you actually give this guy a chance if he can't play well against Norwich, you know? What do you do as a coach? Is Delo just not going to play now because he's crap against the worst team in the league? By definition, he's going to do worse in all the other 19 games based on his performance today. But, you know, what do I know? What are you giving Delo out of 10?
I guess I'm not completely convinced he's good enough for Manchester United, but he does have his positive attributes, and we didn't see any of them today. Defensively, he is crap. He needs to work on that, and he was crap today. And offensively, that's why we trust him. And with the lack of width today, you would have expected him to fill in there, but he didn't. So 5.
5. That's a little bit kind. Maguire. I mean, not Maguire. Who played it? Oh yeah, Bailey. Bailey out of 10. Suspect game for him, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's just all right. You know, he didn't look sharp at all. You know, his positioning was a bit of a yaks for me as well. You know,
positioning was terrible in the first half, but he grew into the game. I'll give him that.
He grew into the game, but yeah, no, I thought he was bang average, so 6.
I agree 100%. I think this is Bailly when he's not sharp. He's like this. He's clumsy. He makes mistakes. So I'm also going to give him a 6.
To everyone who thought Bailey should have started against Sheffield, I've got no words for you.
No, I still backed it up. I think he needs a run of games. I think on his best, I think he should start over Lindelof. But we've seen this in the past. He takes a while. Like a lot of players, he takes a while to get into the group. And when he does, I think he's a phenomenal defender.
Well, yeah, you're just defending. You're just giving me ammunition to my point, anyways. We shouldn't have played a player who takes a few games to get into form against Sheffield. We should have played the players that are already in form against Sheffield, and that's why I think Bailey shouldn't have started against Sheffield. I mean, if you're so shady against Norwich, how much worse were you going to be? And I'm not saying Sheffield were good or anything like that. I'm just saying he could have cost us the game against Sheffield based on his positioning today. I mean, I saw him running away from a Norwich player when they were in transition to attack, away from the guy, and Fred had to drop deep to cover for him. But, you know, what do I know? Apparently Bailey's really good on his day, and he deserved to start against Sheffield. Maguire out of 10.
Maguire, you know, you shouldn't have played as long as he did today, but, you know, today he had a great performance. You know, he won us the game defensively. Again, he was solid, commanding. So, yeah, 8 out of 10.
This guy doesn't rest. He's an android.
Yeah, no, I knew it. I knew this one was going to play. I think he was my man of the match. I think he had a great game. Even though he played so long, he had a brilliant game. He did everything right. Like Maguire, he was good on the ball. Defensively, maybe he's been a bit off in the past few games, but he was brilliant today. And he scored a goal, so 8.
Yeah, and some men are still talking about making Bruno captain, fam. I don't know if there's any more of an exemplary performance when other people are playing like shite than today. I've always said Maguire leads by stature, not by, looking animated and putting his fist in the air. That's not the type of leader he is. But again, it does come down to opinion at the end of the day. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Luke Shaw, out of 10.
I thought Luke Shaw was good today. I didn't expect him to start. I really thought Brandon Williams was going to start. But yeah, Luke Shaw was brilliant today. I thought defensively, he had that left side on lockdown. I think going forward, again, he could have had a few assists if chances were put in away. But yeah, I'm going to give Luke Shaw a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, everything's Shinny said, really. 7.
Yeah, Luke Shaw is one of those players, isn't he? Some people don't like him. Some people have made their minds up about Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw could score 3 hat-tricks and get knighted and then also run for president and win, or prime minister, whatever it is in the UK. And some people still wouldn't like him, which is unfortunate because, I always believe you should be as objective as possible. Not that, there's nothing wrong with being subjective and emotional. That's what football's about at the end of the day. But some people just don't like Luke Shaw, and I'll never get it, in the same way that some people will just never like Pogba, regardless of how many world-class performances he had. And I just find that strange, that sort of hate, why you'd carry that. And I think Luke Shaw played well today, and some people will say he didn't because they don't like him. And it's unfortunate, really. It's unfortunate. But anyways, we move on. Fred, out of 10.
Fred, I thought was decent. I thought Fred did okay. His link-up play was good. The way he broke up play was good. He was definitely more involved in the game than anyone else really in that first team that started off. So yeah, I think Fred was, it was okay for him. I'm going to give him a 6. A 6.
Yeah, against Norwich, Fred is good.
Like I've been trying to analyze what is this guy, and I tried that in this game. Like I can kind of see why Pep wanted him, because I can see the attributes of maybe working into becoming a player like Jorginho, who can sit, who is very good at tracking the movement of attackers and can sniff out danger. But I think defensively he's not there yet, and I think distributing the long balls is decent, but.
I mean, sorry for cutting you off, and I know you still need to give your rating, but just to interject there, I don't want to liken him to Lingard because I think that's massively disrespectful.
Is it Lingard?
No, I know. I'm saying what I think of Fred. I'm trying to help. I don't want to liken Fred to Lingard because I think likening him to Lingard is massively disrespectful. But I can't think of anybody else who's similar to the characteristics that Fred has that makes him the player that he is. I think Fred is really good at breaking up opposition play and being extremely disruptive and annoying, almost like a fly in the opposition. And that's the kind of DM he is. He's not the kind of DM who's going to shoulder tug people onto the ground and command the defense. He's more of the guy who's just going to run around and have a lot of energy. We've called him an engine on the show for a reason, because that's what he does. He's got a tank. He's a workhorse. That's the type of player Fred is, and I think that's what I expect from Fred now. But I don't know if he has anything else to offer, and the fact that he's having good games against Norwich doesn't mean anything to me because it's Norwich. Let's not forget about that. I know you can only play what's in front of you, but I've watched this guy for 12 months now, and I've had massive question marks on how good he actually is because of the team he plays in and where we are as a club. And for him to play as badly as he did against Spurs, but then to only turn up against Norwich doesn't give me any confidence. It's like, yeah, you should be playing well against Norwich. Where was this against Spurs? I don't know. Am I being too harsh? Maybe, because Fred is the kind of player similar to Bailey. He needs a run of games. So we'll just have to wait and see. I'm not going to completely write off Fred yet, because ultimately as a bench player, I wouldn't mind him based on what I've seen. But I'm not sure about this guy. Really not. But you can go on.
Yeah, but some of what I was saying, I think you're right. He is the type of DM. And I think all he needs is a coach to really help him nurture that talent. And I feel like under Pep, he probably would be better. But, it just didn't happen. So today, I think it was good defensively. I'm going to give him 6.5.
Yeah, he needs to work on his first touch and maybe get some target practice in, I think he really needs to work on his first touch. And he needs to learn how to distribute the ball quickly and effectively, but also without, squandering it too much. That comes down to first touch. A lot of United players today, what I saw, and this is nothing new. We've spoken about this for a long time. They need to play a game of one-touch football and learn how to control the ball in one touch without taking too many touches. Like, we need to learn to move the ball quickly in transition. If this tactic is going to work out, you know, that's what I think. That's what's been lacking a lot from United.
It's down to the technical team. That's down to patterns and patching those patterns. Ole is just not the type of manager.
Yes, Ole's not that type of manager, but I question some of these players, man. Like, if you're a professional footballer, and we can go on and on about this for months on end, and ultimately, you know, we don't know what happens behind closed doors at United besides the little 3-minute videos with PR spin that we get on YouTube. Look, I don't think at 25 years old you can blame Michael Carrick for not teaching you how to trap a football, you know? Like, you should be able to trap a football, find a pass, and not squander it 50% of the time. Now, could we be better in transition in terms of actually developing patterns of play? Yeah. But when I say United can't look after the ball, I'm not talking about patterns of play. I'm not talking about the fact that we can't play tiki-taka. I'm saying some of our players literally cannot trap the ball to save their life if there's someone on them because they panic and they lose it so quickly. That's got nothing to do with patterns or anything like that. That, for me, comes down to your ability and your calmness. Like, I've seen Matic calmly trap the ball and decide what to do as an intelligent footballer so many times. Why can't Fred, Lingard, all these other guys do that? You know, that's not coaching. That's just being a good footballer, you know, especially if you're a midfielder. If you're a striker and you have no first touch, I understand. If you're a defender and you have no first touch, I understand. If you're a midfielder, your job is literally to be the transition. It's literally to be the link between the attack and defense. Your main job in most teams is to either distribute the ball or hold it, depending on whether or not you have a lead or you're behind. It's that simple. I think it's so easy to analyze these things, but we don't even have to look at Man City. There's so many teams around the world that hold the ball well. Yes, they may be at the bottom of the league, they may not be playing well, but they hold the ball well. It's dodgy that a top 5 team can't even trap the ball. Some of these players in a top 5 team that's supposed to be 2 or 3 players away from winning the league can't even trap a ball. And that's not down to Michael Carrick or the technical team. They have some part to blame, but sometimes we just have to look at the players. Honestly, it bugs me because I do think...
From what I've heard from Ole's mouth, according to him, these type of things are hard to work on during the season because they tend to be planning for the opposition they're facing.
Yeah, but I understand if you're talking specifically about Manchester United's creativity in transition, yes, you know, that's down to the technical team. But the technical team's job is not to teach you how to hold the ball, you know. You think Thiago's a good midfielder because the technical team at Barcelona taught him how to trap a ball? Probably not, you know. It helped that he was playing in a team that played tiki-taka. He had to be good at trapping the ball, otherwise he wouldn't have made the team. But the point is, these are fundamentals of football. This is what you get taught in high school and when you're in the youth academy. You should know how to trap a football when it comes from different heights, different angles. And that's not something that comes down to strictly coaching staff. You have to look at yourself as a footballer eventually, you know? I don't know if that makes sense. And I don't know if I'm the only one who feels this way. But I feel like, you know, it's basics. We talk about this off air with Bafana a lot. There's a lot of things that Bafana players don't do because there's some things they don't learn at grassroots levels as well as some other countries that have far more developed footballing facilities, even at high school level. So when these players come through the system, they're already footballing intelligent, you know. You can use so many examples. And this is a problem with primarily English players. So I'm surprised Fred is struggling from it because he's Brazilian. It's an issue with primarily English players. Like, I expect Rashford to have bad first touch because English players don't necessarily always have a good background with just being good and intelligent footballers subconsciously or just having the talent, you know. But honestly, I do go in on the technical staff at Manchester United a lot because I've talked about the fact that we can't hold the ball to save our lives. But sometimes you have to look at these players, man. And the first touch, it's just poor from some of them. Suspect. And it's unfair that I'm going in on Fred because it's almost everyone who's not in our first team. It's dodgy. I mean, even Williams today. Williams had a chance. I don't know if it was in extra time or in the last 10 minutes where Pogba dinked it up and Williams had a terrible first touch. And I'm like, that's not Carrick's fault. William just didn't know how to trap the ball there. You think Carrick taught Pogba how to trap the ball? No. You know, Pogba just knows how to because he's a good footballer. But, you know, I'm sorry for going on this little rant. It's a bit unprofessional. McTominay out of 10.
Bruh, this guy, I didn't even see him defensively, didn't see him offensively. To be honest, I didn't even know if he was playing.
He's struggling.
McTominay is freaking struggling.
He's struggling.
But for me, invisible. Absolutely invisible.
Expected from a young player, to be honest.
So yeah,
Expected.
2 out of 10. McTominay is 2 out of 10.
Worse than Delap.
He did nothing for me. He did nothing for me.
Yeah, but I agree. I can't disagree with that. I think the energy is always there and the will, so we commend him for that. But yeah, he's not playing that well. So I'm going to give him a 4.
Yeah, McTominay, again, I like to be as fair as possible, even though I can come across as emotional sometimes. And if we're going to go in on Fred, what is McTominay? What is McTominay? I know that from what I've learned from him that he has the potential to be something special, but is this guy just another passion merchant who ultimately only turns up for derbies? What is this player? And
he's young, and I think you can see what he is. I think he's...
Yeah, no, he's definitely young. He's definitely inconsistent. I always say that about young players. So I'm not going in on McTominay because I think he's a crap player. I think he does have a future at United, don't get me wrong. And I'm not writing him off. I've acknowledged the fact that he's struggling at the moment, but I'm genuinely asking. I'm not even trying to be sarcastic or anything if I do sound like that. Like, what is McTominay in your guys' eyes? What does this guy have to offer, even on a bad day? Because if this guy, when he has a bad day, is going to be invisible, then why is he really someone we want at the club? Because Rashford has bad days, but at least Rashford can score a worldie every now and then, even when he's having a bad day. I know what I'm getting from Rashford, even when he's having a bad day. I know what I'm getting from Pogba when he's having a bad day. I know what I'm getting from Bruno when he's having a bad day. Heck, even Fred. I know I'm going to get an engine with Fred. Even when he's having a bad day, I know he's going to run till the 90th minute. But what does McTominay do on bad days? Because I know what he does when it's a derby. And, Edison passes him the ball and he scores a screamer from 40 yards out. I know that McTominay, but who's the McTominay on the bad days? What do you guys think is best for him? Not just after today, but in general.
I've always thought, position-wise, and his technical ability, he's tall, he's strong. I would have tried to mold him into like a CDM. I think he could be that. I don't think he's anywhere near that, but for me, that's where I would see him. I don't see him as a box-to-box like a Pogba. I don't see him as a Cam. I don't see him as just a general sentiment. I see him more as a CDM. And I think they should mold him into a CDM.
I don't know. I think he could be a box. I think he has the running power to do it.
I also think he's a box-to-box as well at the moment. I don't see him as a CDM because ultimately he's got nothing to offer defensively. Does that mean he can't be a CDM? No. He can learn.
He's decent defensively, but he needs to work on it. But he has age on his side.
Yeah, but I mean that's what box-to-boxes are. Box-to-boxes are a combination of defensive and attacking midfielders. They run from box-to-box. That's literally the definition. They defend when we don't have the ball, and they attack when we do have the ball. And I think McTominay is that sort of player. But for him to be a specialist CDM, I don't know.
I feel like it'd be a waste of his talent. His running powers is unbelievable. And I feel like not exploiting that would be a waste of what he can do.
Yeah, it's similar to Fred. Imagine telling Fred to sit deep. He's got nothing to offer you then, I think with McTominay, it is a waste of his talent if you just tell him to sit deep and play the Matic role, because ultimately this is a guy who can do something offensively. We've seen it in the big games. He's got the flair we need in the midfield and the potential to be something special. And I don't know if that's restricted to him just being a good CDM. But maybe I'm wrong. Let us know in the comments down below what you think of everything, not just the McTominay thing, everything we've said, anything you want to say.
He's developing in a team that wants to challenge for the Premier League and wants to get high on. So it's going to be hard for him to get into the first team if he's not a complete player and does not really know what his position is. And
especially if he's hot and cold.
Yeah, and sitting on the bench won't help him either. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's my problem with guys like McTominay is if he's going to be a hot and cold player, right? It's all well and dandy saying he's a young player and he deserves leeway and we shouldn't go in on him. But at the end of the day, when you're challenging for titles, you've got to be harsh. And we don't have time for your form to buffer. In the middle of the season, when someone goes down, we need you to come on and do a job. And not just a job against Norwich, against Newcastle to win us a draw. A job that's good enough to beat some of the best sides in the world, whether that be Liverpool or City. And I don't know if McTominay's that kind of player if he hasn't played in 3 months. That's my problem with him. Pogba's proven me wrong. Pogba's shown after not playing for a year, he can come on and make a difference, even in 15 minutes. I like that about Pogba, because it shows me that, yes, he's not going to have a world-class performance every single game, especially after being out for so long. That's unrealistic to expect from any player, but at least I know I'm going to get something from him in the game. And Pogba's not going to forget how to trap a ball. Pogba's not going to forget how to position himself. Pogba's not going to forget the basic fundamentals that some of these players lack at times. he's gonna, even a bad Paul Pogba improves us. Is basically what I'm trying to say. I don't know if a bad McTominay improves us, and that's what I'm worried about. What is this guy on his worst day? Let me know in the comments down below what your opinions are. But we have to move on. Bruno Fernandes out of 10.
I think this has been his worst game at United. But I think even towards the end, he was tired. I think Bruno's tired. I think he's tired. I think he should have been rested today. I wouldn't have played him today. I think, and it's unfortunate that he had to even play this whole game. So, but, at least he always wanted the ball. He didn't want to disappear. He wanted to take shots. He wanted to put balls through, You always do that, That's what we got Bruno for. But, I'm very sad for Bruno because today what I seen was Bruno was trying everything, even when he had to run back in, extra time to make that tackle. He tried everything, but he needs a break. And I wish we didn't have to play him on Tuesday. I really wish we didn't have to.
What are you giving him out of 10?
But I'm gonna give Bruno a 6.
I think Bruno said it perfectly himself in a press conference. He said people are happy and excited now and everything's positive, but as soon as I start playing badly, people will start to question my future at United. And I looked at that and I was like, yeah, tell me about it, because all these people think you're the best midfielder in the Premier League and they've only watched you for 9 games. I think with Bruno Fernandes, there's a bit of a reality check in today's game. This guy is an attacking midfielder who at Sporting Lisbon was, I want to say flair player, but flair player makes him sound similar to Rashford, and I only reduce him to that. He's much more than just a flair player. He's Bruno Fernandes. But ultimately, today is a sign of when Bruno Fernandes tries too hard. And that's the kind of Bruno Fernandes player, that's the kind of player Bruno Fernandes is 24/7. He's not going to stop shooting from range. He's not going to stop making the risky passes. He's not going to stop trying to do everything because that's who he is. And I worry sometimes about his form and what that will do if he doesn't get a run of games. If he goes into a run of games where he's bad, is he going to be the type of player to try play himself out of form? Because that doesn't work. And I know he's no Andres Pereira, but we've seen this with Andres Pereira and Jesse Lingard. They just try play themselves on a bad form and it doesn't work. You have to adapt some things in your game and learn to play off your teammates sometimes and learn to not be the main man just to get yourself back into form. And
which is what I think Pogba is doing very well now as well.
Yeah. Pogba helps United anytime he's on the field, but I think that's more of a reflection of how bad United is and not how good Pogba is, People say we shouldn't let go of Pogba because we need him. No, that's not the way you should be thinking. How you should be thinking is Paul Pogba coming onto the field, even on his worst day, improving us a good thing at Manchester United? Probably not if we want to be challenging for titles. And I would say the same about Bruno. We can't be relying on a Bruno Fernandes who's shooting from 30 yards out against a 10-man Norwich. We need more than just that if we're going to challenge for a title. And I think with Bruno, the reality check is coming. And I like Bruno. I think he's a phenomenal player. I will back him even when he inevitably does dip in form. I will back him and I will defend him. But I ain't going to call him the best midfielder in the Premier League, especially not after today, until I see at least a season from him, because I think it's just naive. But
I agree 100% with you guys. I think he was trying too hard. I think first half, he had his moments here and there, but then I feel like he was all over the place, moving out of position too much, trying to do everything. And then when the second half began, he was flat. And maybe it is tiredness as well. He was very flat. Pogba and all of them came in. He improved a little in terms of his interplay, but his shooting was definitely doing it there. And he's got a lot of balls. So it was a very mixed game. So I'm going to give him a 6 as well.
And this is how he played at Sporting, by the way. If you didn't watch him at Sporting, this is the player that played at Sporting. It's just in Portugal, shooting from 30 yards out, it's going to go in more often than in the Premier League. So make what you want of that. But we move. Bruno's not perfect. He was bound to have a bad game eventually. It's just very strange that it comes against the worst team in the league, you know what I mean? But anyways, damn it, I had such a good nickname for this guy before the show. I should have written it down. Damn it. I forgot it. It was going to be such a good joke. Jesse Lingard out of 10.
I'm going to keep it short and sweet, boys. Not applicable. I'm not going to bash him. I'm not going to give him a rating. Move on with that. I can't be asked. I can't be asked.
Jesse Anonymous Lingard, boys.
Wow. Like I had hope at the beginning of the game. I had hope, honestly. Okay, he's playing on the wing. Let's see. Who knows? Oh my gosh.
Fam, you see, look, I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna say this about everyone on the field today, not just Jesse Lingard. Out of position, hasn't played for 3 months in lockdown. Cool. I understand that. But when this guy was playing in position before lockdown, in the middle of the season, when he should have well been on his way to finding some sort of form, just like Fred, by the way, what's his excuse? Because some of the issues with Jesse Lingard today had nothing to do with him playing out of position. If your excuse for Jesse Lingard's bad performance today is him playing out of position, then what's your excuse for Jesse Lingard playing bad against all the other teams he played bad against when he was playing in the 10 this season? What's your excuse then? I'll wait.
Say, I'm not going to say him playing out of midfield is a bad thing. What I was saying is that I just don't know him. I don't know if this guy's a 10. I feel like I've seen some of his best days on the wing, so I don't.
Yeah. No, I'm not. Listen, I'm not going in on you. I respect your opinion, and I understand what you're trying to say. I'm not going in on you. I'm just asking, because I know there's people out there who'll be defending Jesse Lingard. I'm just asking them, if there is one of them listening to the show.
If there is someone defending Jesse Lingard, please hit me up in the DMs at Show325. I would love to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, no, because I understand that you're not going to defend Jesse Lingard, and I'll let you finish your point because it was a bit rude of me to cut you off.
I've said it.
Of the more reason.
Oh, okay.
I think time's up. Can I just give my rating?
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Okay, it's a 1.
I mean, usually I'd laugh, but like when you know a joke is coming before it comes, you can't laugh as well.
I said it as soon as I seen the team line up to my one uncle. I was just like, I want Jesse to, by all means, I really do want Jesse to do well, but don't be disappointed when nothing happens.
It's just one of those things. He's done. It, it would be so romantic if Jesse Lingard just magically picked up form again. It would be so lovely if Pogba signed a 5-year deal and became the best midfielder on the planet, undeniably, and didn't get injured for a full season and we won. We went on to go 38 games unbeaten or 37 games unbeaten with 1 loss in an unfortunate set of circumstances. It would be so romantic. But in football and in life, you don't always get what you deserve. And speaking of getting what you deserve, Jesse Lingard has had so many chances at United that even he cannot say he didn't have a chance to rectify his form. So, even if Jesse Lingard hadn't gotten the chances that he got this season, I'd still be saying he's done and he needs to move on. Not because he's a terrible player, but he just needs to move on. But I'm running out of excuses for this guy and objective reasons to not lash out at this guy every time he puts on a United shirt because, even though it's not his fault, every time he comes out, he looks worse than the previous time, It's coming to the point where I'm questioning his skills as a footballer, his first touch, his ability to pass a ball, his ability to run into position and intelligently identify what's going on in the game and how he can be useful towards his teammates, his ability to hit the target when he takes shots, his ability to just be a decent player, especially for the wages he's getting paid. It's getting to that point where I'm starting to believe no matter where this guy goes, he's not a footballer and he should just go to modeling and running fashion agencies. Yeah, his brand. It's getting to that point, and I didn't want it to get to that point, but what does this guy have to offer in the last few months? Forget about the terrible season. In the last few months, okay, 3 months, subtract 3 months because of lockdown. But in the last few games for United, what does this guy have to offer? Who in their right mind is going to buy this guy and say, you know what, it didn't work out at United, but it might work out here? I don't even think he
and
gets
even
into
the
Wolves.
teams, I was about to say, even the teams that logically Jesse Lingard could play for, there's no ways they can even afford him because of the wages he's on and what United value him at.
Yeah, that's another thing. So we know Norwich is not going to buy Jesse Lingard, even though he wouldn't get into Norwich's team, even if he dreamed of it, in my opinion. But we know Norwich can't afford him. So hypothetically, if Jesse Lingard could actually get into a bottom 10 Premier League side, they can't afford him anyways.
Yeah, exactly. So Lingard, if you're listening, fly to South Africa, I'll play in my Indo team on the bench, be a rotation player for me. Maybe you win a young trophy there. Get your confidence up.
Yeah,
fly you back
we'll sign you on a free contract and guarantee you at least 4 or 5 games, and we'll give you access to the Instagram page, fam. We'll create it just for you, so you can model and tell us how we go again next week every time you shank your chance in front of goal, fam. But things should never get personal with footballers because they are entertainers and they have a job, and their personal life should not be conflated with their footballing life. But ultimately, we're judging Jesse Lingard as a player. This is not a personal attack on Jesse Lingard as a person, even though as a person he started to become annoying for me personally because I can't stand him anymore. Even if I see him in a non-football related sense, I just think of all the crappy moments he's caused me and the amount of time he's taken away from me. But, you know, I respect Jesse Lingard as a human being and I wish him all the best. I just don't see how he can possibly get anything close to the best if he moves from United. Like, where's this guy going to go? What is this guy's career?
There's some players, big teams, and were struggling and seem to just work better at small teams. So let's hope they'll work on Jesse Lingard.
If you're Arsenal and you need some Instagram followers, sure, sign Lingard, but... What kind of big team signs a player just for Instagram followers? You know, again, I guess United is that kind of team because we're keeping this guy on 200 grand per week.
Arsenal should definitely sign. I think they'll
do well at Arsenal, to be fair. I mean, Ipman and Ozil are pretty similar in terms of stats. So, you know, you wouldn't lose anything by signing Lingard. Arsenal. I'm going to make an Arsenal joke now. By the way, for all the Arsenal fans who think that, you know, we have a rivalry, we don't have a rivalry. The closest thing you have to a rivalry is if Brentford get promoted, because ultimately we don't have rivalries with teams that are happy when Spurs lose, you know. Sorry, you know, the Wenger times are past. But anyways, sorry. Going off topic, Igolo, out of 10.
I won't lie. I like him. I like him a lot. Unfair is, you know, it's sad again. You know, I think he was tired towards the end, very, very tired. Can't blame him for what we expect from him. But again, what he did when he was on the ball the first hour, you know, it was great. I thought his positioning is great. I think Igalo as a striker, his positioning is potentially even better than Martial. You know, he's always in a right position as a striker, which I love about the striker. He's always in the right position, right time, right moment. He puts it in when he gets his chance. You know, he's very clinical. You would have had another goal if that, I don't know who that Norwich player was, took him down from that wonderful flick from Bruno. Again, right position. I thought his hold-up play was great. Link-up play is great. You know, Igalo, I really do like him. And, you know, I'm enjoying his time at United. It might not last forever, but while he's here, I'm enjoying it. So, yeah, 8 out of 10.
Like, I think he's a decent second striker. I think in terms of a classic number 9 is good. He kind of reminds me of Giroud, but maybe without the spectacular goals. I think his positioning is brilliant in terms of being in the danger area. I think his hold-up play is consistent. He's so good at that. And he finished and got the goal. So, yeah, I'm also going to give him an 8. Okay, maybe 7.5.
With Igalo, my opinion of Igalo is very similar to my opinion of Romero. You know, people who are pro Romero, I'm just like, mate, he gets clean sheets against teams that we should be beating anyways. So, you know, I'll say the same about Igalo. He's scoring against teams that we should be beating anyways. Plain and simple, you know, and that's no disrespect to Igalo. You know, he's a fan favorite, and it's not fashionable to go in on Igalo because everyone loves Igalo, and as soon as you go against Igalo, you're a villain, you know. But I don't mind being a villain if it means I'm just speaking my honest opinion about him and guys like Romero. It's great that he wants to be a second striker for the club and he cares about the club that much that he's willing to sacrifice the trajectory of his career just to sit on the bench for us. It's fantastic. And ultimately, as far as second strikers go, he probably is one of the better second strikers we could get because who else is willing to sit on the bench at Manchester United who's that good? But again, I need to see more of this guy against when it actually matters, you know, not against. And today did matter, to be fair to him, but it was against a team that's in the bottom half of the table, you know. So I don't know. It's hard to judge players like him.
You're right. You have to be, but it's tough for him because Martial's going to play him 70 minutes most of the time, and he gets in and he plays like what, 20, 15 minutes?
I've got no problems with people who think I'm being harsh on Igalo because we're one of the biggest clubs in the world. We should be harsh on players. So, you know, excuse me for thinking Igalo isn't good enough for Manchester United. I only just want to win a league title, you know. So don't mind me and my ambitions to win a title. But I don't know. Yeah, I'm harsh on Igalo and Romero because I like to be harsh on my club because I think my club should be in a much better position than they are in now. And I just don't know if these guys are the ones to take us there or help us get there because ultimately they're playing against teams that we should be beating anyways without their team. Like, and the same goes for everybody else in that team. Below should be playing well. against Norwich, and the fact that he didn't, at least Igalo and Romero questionable today because of the goal he conceded, but at least Igalo and Romero are reliable in these kinds of games. Dalot, oh my word, guys like Dalot, Lingard, Pereira, all these guys who are starting to become a part of the problem at United. Got no words, but anyways, Mata out of 10.
Oh no, I didn't know he was playing again. Same. I'm going to say the same thing with Lingard. No rating, not applicable. Move on, Clive.
Mata's done, man. Mata's done. Like, he's done. The irony is he did play well against the last time he played against Norwich.
And I expected Mata to do well.
He's done.
Well, not wow.
I didn't. I don't think this is the game for Mata. I don't care what he did in the 4-0 win. I didn't. Because the assist he got when he assisted Rashford is because he had millions of space. He had millions of acres of space. So Juan Mata, an ex-Premier League winner, knows how to dink a decent ball into Rashford at the back post. That doesn't impress me for what I know Juan Mata to be. Juan Mata is slow. He can't run for more than 60 minutes. He's done. He has nothing to offer Manchester United other than the basic IQ, which most of these players should have anyways. I think he should just stick to being the father figure of the team and praising people when they play well. And being a good substitute for the Europa League, because he plays well in the Europa League games. Duh. It's the second division of European football. But I really don't know about this guy anymore. I would use the same argument with Matic, but Matic plays in a much more critical position, and Matic really has no competition. But with Mata, it's like he was playing in a position where Dan James could have played, Greenwood could have played, heck, even Rashford could have played, and he would have been better on his weak foot. But yeah.
Next to Bruno Fernandes, to be honest, and crowding.
Yeah, I don't know with Mata, man. He's old. He's old.
I feel like that IQ and technique can be an asset, considering what we have. So we don't have much. So for that and for the rest of the season, I understand him playing games like this. But yeah, he was really poor today. And going forward, I don't think it's the club for him. He can maybe go somewhere else and he can be an asset, but not here. So I'm going to give him a 3.
Yeah, and just to respond to what you said there, and again, I'm not going in on you specifically. I'm just talking about people who defend Mata in general and say that Mata should start, and people who are pro-Mata. I'm not saying Mata shouldn't have started ahead of someone like Pereira and Lingard. Please do not twist my words. I'm not saying Mata shouldn't have started. Mata was an obvious choice in a game like this, considering what we have. But that proves my point even more. What we have is not good enough if the guy who's on the field has the basic requirements of a top 4 footballer. IQ and good decision-making should be standard for a Manchester United midfielder. You shouldn't get praised for making a good pass. It's standard. It makes sense. You should make the pass to the guy who's open on the left wing. That's not something we should praise you for and give you a wage bonus and a new contract, Am I the only person who feels this way? Because it's the same with Matic. I respect Matic. I respect Matic so much, but ultimately you shouldn't get praised for doing the right thing. And it's your job.
Do that because it's what we have, and if he passes and gets and assists the goal, kudos. But as Ed Woodward, you shouldn't be giving him a new contract. In that aspect, I agree to it.
Yeah, that's the problem with Mata. Mata is done. I don't care if he goes and scores a hat-trick against Sheffield United, who lost 3-0 to Newcastle, by the way. He's done. If Mata plays well against a team, it's because they're crap, not because Mata's good. You know why he played well against Norwich when we won 4-0? Look at the table. Are you telling me he'd do well against Manchester City or even half of the decent Premier League sides when they're on form? Hell no. And if he does, it's probably because Crystal Palace are 10th and they've only scored 28 goals. So most of the teams aren't performing to par anyways this season. But I think he's just done. And it's similar with Matic. The difference between him and Matic is at least Matic does the things that are required of him, but at a standard that most other players don't, even at that age, Like Matic is a really good DM in comparison to what we could have, especially if you want to compare him to what's in the club at the moment. But with Mata, it's like what he does is not even that amazing anyways. It's basic. Bar the Rashford assist, what has Mata done this season that makes him so good? I don't know. Even if it's moments of brilliance, I don't see anything left in him. But, maybe I'm being harsh. What do you guys think about the 5 substitutes, if any, who came on?
I'm not going to give them ratings, obviously, but I thought Rashford was poor, to be honest. In this game, I thought Rashford was poor. I thought Pogba was the difference.
Yeah.
I thought Pogba, he grabbed the whole of the midfield. He won the midfield battle instantly, and his passing is just elite. His vision is elite. I thought Pogba was possibly the reason why we won that game at the end. That ball that just was put in a dangerous area, and Maguire, he smashed it. I thought, that's what I wanted Pogba to do, and I knew, around maybe 45 minutes, I was thinking already Pogba was gonna have to come on and save us, which I didn't want, but I kind of expected it. So yeah. Greenwood again. I liked Greenwood. His movement. He's showing some skill now. His IQ is very good. He's holding up the ball. He's getting his head up. He's looking for the right pass to make the right decisions. He's shooting when I expect him to shoot. By all means, I understand why he's shooting. So yeah, the subs and Tony. I thought Tony was very good. Look, Tony was even more confident. So I'm excited to see Tony on Tuesday because that little bit today that he was on, he looked very, very confident.
I mean, it is against Norwich, but yeah, I agree with all those points.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's embarrassing that we even had to bring on 5 subs against Norwich. Like, what? This team's going to win the league. Oh, get out of here.
I like, for me, it was just disappointing is that, for me, I don't know about you guys, but for me, it looked like United didn't give a damn and they were very complacent.
Well, I'll let Malota go first and then I'll respond to that and give you my honest opinions on why I'm really upset today.
I'm not going to take it that far. I do think they're a bit flat, but I do blame most of it to the way the team is. Well, yes, I know these players have paid a lot, as Marcus has made very clear, but that doesn't change the fact that they just didn't work in the system, and I feel like that played a big part.
Yeah. Did you think anything of the subs before I say what I want to say? The 5 subs that came on?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think I'll single out Greenwood and Pogba. I think Greenwood was brilliant. He was threatening. And yeah, Pogba is a 10. Brilliant.
Look, the reason why I'm upset today is not because not because of this isolated performance. I'm not upset today because we played poorly against a side that's 20th in the Premier League. I'm upset today because for about 80 minutes of that game, it felt like I was back in Christmas again with this United team. For all the people, and I know there's going to be people out there who are saying, why are you being so harsh? These guys they haven't played football in 3 months. This was expected. They were going to be rusty. It's like, what was your excuse to defend these players when they were losing against Newcastle? Because against Newcastle, they weren't rusty for 3 months. There was no pandemic during the start of the season. And so the reason why I'm upset today is because a lot of the problems I saw today were very reminiscent of what happened a year ago, or just under a year ago. And I wasn't joking when I was talking to a Liverpool fan. I was talking to a Liverpool fan off air. They might be listening to the show, they might not, and if they are, they know who they are. If you know, you know. They said, our midfield is looking saucy with Bruno and Pogba. And I said, yeah, but we're 1 injury away from PE, park the bus tactics. And he laughed, and I was like, well, I'm not joking, mate. Well, we're literally 1 injury away from being a mid-table club. And I wasn't joking. We're 1 injury away from being the team that played under Van Gaal, that played under Jose, because you can go in and ollie all you want, but Jose and Van Gaal also finished 6th in their last seasons, and 5th, You can go in and ollie and say these players didn't fit in the system, We can debate till the cows come home whether or not Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the right guy. But ultimately, whoever comes into this job with this set of players is going to have their first season written off, just like Jose did, just like Van Gaal did, because eventually it's all going to come crumbling down when Pogba's injured, or Rashford is injured, or Martial is injured. And God forbid they all get injured at the same time and one of them gets a match suspension and they all just can't play for some reason. Or the one who does play is just having a bad day like Bruno was today. We all said Bruno or Pogba had to start. Well, what if Bruno starts and has a bad game? Then what? And you can't even take him off because the crap on the bench is worse than Bruno in his most crap form.
And that's what I will say that, to any United fans who would be happy with Sancho, this is why I emphasize how important Sancho and Grealish is. This is exactly why I want Grealish. Exactly.
And the sad thing is, I don't even think that's enough. I mean,
it's not enough. It's not. It's nowhere.
Let's ignore the fact that I don't think we'll actually get Grealish, because I don't see this club spending £100 million on Sancho plus Grealish without at least selling someone. And I don't know who's going to buy Lingard, because I know we're not selling Pogba. But that's not the show. That's not what we're here to talk about today. This is about Norwich versus United. We do need Grealish and Sancho, but I feel like that's not even enough, because Sancho gets injured, we're back to square one, you know? And Grealish, he's not going to hit the ground running at United like everybody thinks he is. And even if he does, he might have a game like Bruno today. So for me, I've seen a lot of Grealish, and I respect Grealish, and I love Grealish to come, and I think we desperately need someone like Grealish. But at the same time, I'm starting to get very pessimistic again, because today was reminiscent of what this club was just over 3 months ago. And I don't know where we go from here as Manchester United if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer doesn't get the players. Because I like, realistically, if we sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Pochettino comes, do we really want to be sat here for another 2 seasons saying we're waiting for him to rebuild the team? You know, that just sounds very depressing to me.
I hear you, and like I signal out the tactics and the picking because I'm just tired of talking about it, honestly. And I just said a couple of weeks ago, I just don't understand how people are focusing on attack, only on attack, because I still do think we need a lot of midfielders. I think maybe not all of them, but like I agree with an Arteta and a Pep in with players like Torre and an Ozil. If a player's not playing, don't play him. If he's not playing well, if he doesn't fit in the system, I just say don't play him. Don't play just Lingard. Play Gomez. Play Chong. I don't agree with picking players who just don't fit in the system, because you're trying to build something and you can't keep disrupting it by putting people in the puzzle who just don't fit.
That is true, but I mean, we're in the situation that we're in, you know. That is very true. That is very true. And I respect your opinion, and I'm not knocking you for that opinion, but ultimately, for me, that's a very obvious thing. Like, going in on Jose because he was stubborn and he didn't change his tactics, going in on Van Gaal because he was stubborn and he didn't change his tactics. There's so many managers in world football who got sacked because they stuck to a philosophy and a group of players they believed in. And ultimately, that's going to happen no matter who comes to Manchester United. We don't know if Poch is going to come here and like Fellaini and fancy signing another Fellaini. And we're going to all be sat here saying, what does he see in this guy? Don't pick him if he's not playing well. That always happens. It's a pattern. It's not just at Manchester United. Go ask Arsenal fans why they signed Luiz for an extra year. You know, let's talk about Arteta. Since Arteta is such a great example of someone who drops players when they're not playing well. Why did he sign David Luiz on a new deal when he's clearly crap and he's done and we can all see it? You see, so managers are always going to have opinions that ultimately go against the core beliefs of the fan base because they're in the job and not us. They see something in training in the player that we don't see, and they decide he's best for the team. And the guy who is a young player who hasn't really proven himself is just never going to start because of that. And I'm not saying that's the right thing. It's obviously not. But like you said, talking about it ain't going to change anything, because it's like that's going to happen no matter who's at the job. Even if Poch comes here, there's going to be a player who gets deprived of football, and we're all going to be sat here, I can guarantee you, saying, why isn't this guy playing when Poch is in his rebuild phase and he's losing games that he shouldn't be losing? Because that happens to a lot of managers. Very few managers come to a team in the first season and take it by storm. Look at Pep at City, you know? So the point I'm trying to make is we can only blame Ole Gunnar Solskjaer so much. I've been watching this club for 7 years, and I'm sick and tired of blaming managers. It's time to start looking at the players, really and truly. And I'm also tired of talking about the ownership of the club, because you can't just keep blaming the owners. You have to look at some of these players, and some of these players just aren't good enough. Right, he should have played Gomez. Right, he should have played Chong. Right, but what if those guys had a, you know, what if, could have, would have, should have, what if they also had a bad game?
I just think,
would you be blaming Ole Gunnar?
In my opinion, looking at the tactics, they kind of fit in the tactics. I just don't see.
No, they do. They do. You're 100% right. You're 100% right. You're 100% right. But it sounds like you have a bad case of the what ifs, because Bruno fitted into today's tactics, but he played crap. Who's to say Chong wouldn't have played crap? If Chong had played today and Chong had the worst game of his life and scored an own goal, would we be blaming Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for that decision? I tell you what, some people would. Some people would have been saying, why didn't Mata start? Because he's more experienced and he played well against Norwich and he scored an assist. So it's one of those things, bro. Like, I completely understand.
Like with Bruno, as much as he had a bad game, I don't think he was horrible. So I can excuse that because he's human. I think it's more on the front three.
Yeah, and I'm agreeing with you. I think a different set of players should have started. But all I'm saying is we could have easily been sat here with Chong having played a bad game, because ultimately Chong hasn't played football in over a year, really, plus the last 3 months of lockdown. So there's nothing that suggests to me that Chong would have done a much better job, a significantly better job than Jesse Lingard that would have gotten us a goal today, genuinely. And Chong could have... Yes, personally, you can say he could have started, and I understand that. I agree with you. You don't need to keep repeating it. I'm just trying to say... Okay, yeah, sorry.
I was going to say it really wouldn't matter to me, because I just wanted to be more affirmative, like a cloak. When he came to the... He didn't play the deadwood. And he played players within the system, even if they didn't work, he did it and did it and did it because he knew what his future plan was. And I want Ole to do more of it.
That's true, but I just feel like there'll always be people in the fan base who complain, because you're happy with the decisions Ole makes, and half the fan base is unhappy, including myself, because if we lose, and I look at the team sheet, and I'm like, well, this guy should have started, this guy could have started, because, like, I didn't have too many problems with Mata starting today. I think I have a problem with Mata being at the club in general, but he did play well against Norwich when we beat them 4-0. So it's not like Matic doesn't work in the system. You'd be wrong to say that because he clearly did not so long ago, Yeah, Mata when he got the assist against Rashford. And I'm pretty sure Lingard started in that game as well.
I mean, yes.
with Rashford and Martial, sorry, not against Rashford.
Yes, I feel like, and maybe I'm guilty of myself saying, man, I want Magic to start. But I don't think he fits the system. I think maybe he'll get you the goal here and there because he's an experienced player. But I don't know if he fits Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's system, especially if you're going to play him on the right.
He doesn't. He probably doesn't. But there's no evidence to suggest that Chong or Gomez does either. Now, is there? That's just down to personal opinion. And all I'm saying is, even if Chong and Gomez had started today, we could have easily been sat here 4-0 later. And you might not have cared. I understand that you might not have cared, and I respect that. But a lot of fans would have cared. A lot of fans would have flamed Ole for it. Because I've seen this happen time and time in football again. And even if Poch comes here, there's going to be a player he deprives of football, and fans are going to go at him, especially if he's not winning trophies. God forbid even making top four, because he could just end up being another fifth place merchant like everybody else who's come to this club so far. So I don't know. And I'm starting to sound extremely pessimistic because I am in a pessimistic place with United. I don't know where we go from here. I am extremely positive about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer making top four. But I'm not extremely positive about the fact that our third team cannot beat the worst team in the league because it makes me worry about our squad depth. Can we make top four without Pogba and Bruno? Probably not.
No.
I feel like in terms of signing and selling, we need to be affirmative. And I just don't see us doing that because of our history. So I think we might be waiting a while for it.
Yeah, no, 100%. But it's just difficult, man. It's difficult because I don't think Poch is going to change that. I don't think there's many managers in the world that are going to change that sort of affirmative action we need. And I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, to be fair to him, has started to change that. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has shown really, really positive signs. But the problems that I saw today, for me, personally, I choose to not look at it as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer because these are the same problems I've been seeing for 7 years. So for me, blaming him doesn't help the situation because we're just going through the same cycle. And we'll be sat here 3 seasons again doing another preview against another team, God forbid, that we should be beating but nearly lost to, talking about why this manager is not good. And if that does happen, I'll happily make a comparison to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's time at Manchester United with whoever that guy is and say, I told you so, But hopefully it doesn't come to that. Hopefully it doesn't. But, I don't see how it works.
I don't think anyone should ever say because of this game, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is not good enough. Yes, you can question his picking and all that, but it was Norwich, and he did pick these players because he wanted to rest the big hitters for the bigger games, so it's fine.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I heard a United fan say that earlier today when I was watching the watch-along, one of the watch-alongs on the United stand. Somebody said Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is not good enough, he's clearly out of his depth, and I was like, you see, there's always going to be people like this. We may be rational on the show, and some of you listening to the show might be level-headed and rational as well. And if you are, I applaud you for that because clearly for some football fans, the idea of just being objective and level-headed is a very far-fetched concept. Like some United fans genuinely will go in on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer today. And it's ludicrous. It's ludicrous because if any other manager was in that position, they would go in on him too. And it's like, when does it end? When does it end, Because we're not that far from being the next Liverpool. Where is the evidence to suggest that we're going to win a title within the next 26 years? I don't know. And it saddens me to say that, but I don't see it. I just don't see it. Maybe I'm a Debbie Downer. You tell me in the comments down below.
I think it's progress. Yes, it's not a bad thing, but it's progress.
There's progress. There's progress. There's progress towards being a stable top four side, but I don't know if there's progress to winning a title yet. I mean, even a kick in the back is forward movement, so I guess technically we are moving towards a title.
And plus,
are we moving at a title quick enough?
Positive is that we're still undefeated since Bruno came. So
Definitely not next season. I think if we keep going on this trajectory, I think 2 or 3 more seasons we might be there.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's the thing right there that pisses me off. The 2 or 3 more seasons thing, because That's going to happen every time we get a new manager. And yes, I do believe in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I want to believe that he can succeed because I ultimately think if he gets the players that he wants, there's no reason why his style of football can't. It's already beaten some of the best teams in the league without Bruno Fernandes and without Pogba in it. So why can't he beat the best teams in the league and the teams below if he gets the right players, right? So from that standpoint, it's easy to be optimistic. But when you watch Norwich and your second team can't beat Norwich, or your third team, whatever you want to call it, that optimism goes out the window for me, especially when Pogba, Martial, and all those other guys came on and we still were toothless for large parts of that game. So I don't know. Maybe I'm being too emotional, but I have every right to be. I'm just a human football fan, just like you. Let me know in the comments down below if you think I'm being harsh. But I think that about wraps up the show. I didn't think this was going to be an hour long, and I didn't think we'd be sat here talking about United winning 2-1 in extra time, but there you go. Manchester United 2-1 against Norwich. We nearly became a part of the Banter League FC there. If we had not closed out this result, it would have been hell on Twitter, man. But yeah, stay safe and enjoy the rest of the evening or whenever you're listening to this. Peace out.